If you're not checking in, you are not creating a sense of belonging.
I think we found the theme of our discussion today.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's it. Well,
and it's the values. It's the values of it all. But
maybe you can give us a little introduction to Kelli so we can understand a little bit about who you are.
My name is Kelli Combat, and I've been an HR executive working at places like Ford, L'Oreal, Volvo, Fresh Direct, and some nonprofits as well, like IDEO.org and International Trademark Association. I'm a coach, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I think what I'm most proud of is sticking true to how I was raised, serving, making sure that I'm leaving things better than how I found them. When it comes to my relationships, when it comes to being a giver, I was raised to believe that you have to treat people well and kindly. No matter how much I've changed in terms of careers and things over the years, that's the one thing that's super constant with me. I mean, I started my career not knowing what I wanted to do. I started in broadcasting and did that for 5 years. And after those 5 years, I didn't want to do that anymore. I just did not feel like it was right. I said to myself, I don't want to be 40 and doing this. There was just no joy in it, even though it had a lot of perks. So I packed up everything from Virginia and I moved back to Michigan, and then I found HR. And I think what I'm proud of also is the fact that when I see, things change, the kids get older, all that stuff. But I'm also proud of the fact that when they need me most, that I'm there for them and that they can count on me and that they talk with me. Both Brookie and Perry, I love that. So that's me.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. We were talking a little bit earlier about sort of, core values and their importance and things of that nature. Through the lenses of, as you had said, a coach, a mom, a wife, where do you think our core values arise from, or where do they come from?
They come from what emanates from the people we are surrounded by. I think we pick up on things as kids. We filter what is something that we want to hold on to as core values, and then we filter out what we don't want. So regardless of the environment that you were raised in, if it wasn't so great, there could be friends, there could be chosen family members that you are like, yes, I'm keeping that value, or I'm keeping those values. And over the years, we hold on to them. I mean, sometimes you don't even know that you want those values. So as a kid, I did very, very, very poorly in school. I think we talked about this on my podcast. And even though I didn't love school, I loved learning, if that's weird. It was a value of my parents. They got really good grades, and I didn't know it. So that's an example. I didn't know that education was going to be important to me because I hated it. I hated every fiber of it. Like with every part of my being, I hated it. I would always be hoping on a D+. I mean, that's how bad it was. Like, that's how bad it was. But regardless of my parents and their accolades, all the education that they had, multiple degrees, my dad he was working on his 3rd master's when he passed away. Like let's just pause for that. I mean, he had an undergrad in physics, a master's degree in physics, and had a full ride, a fellowship to the University of Michigan for physics.
Wow.
And then got another master's degree in electrical engineering, and then was working on computer programming and minored in Latin. Like, what kind of, and and when I was growing up, I was like, am I adopted? Like, I don't understand where my brain, like my mom was a teacher with a grad degree as well in early childhood education. And so again, that's the example that I have, that even though I didn't see it then, what was culminating in me from just being around them was a love for learning, even if I didn't see it back then.
Wow, that's amazing. Your dad sounds like quite the accomplished individual.
Yeah, he definitely was. I mean, he passed away very young. He was only 46. And that, I think that changed the trajectory of my life in terms of talking about values, valuing that life is short. And I think my whole life I've been living to push as much as I can. It's like, oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to be on radio. I'm going to do. And because, when you're 16 years old and you lose your father like that, suddenly, no disease, no, just suddenly gone. You think, okay, you don't have forever. You really don't. So you've got to value every single day and not hold on to BS and stupid stuff and be surrounded by idiots, immature idiots. Just keep moving. Like, extract people in terms of, okay, this friend isn't working out because they don't share my values. So just keep moving on. And those are the kind of values that I, saw from back then. Unfortunately, through tragedy, through good times, through bad times, those are the values that emanated with me.
Based on that experience, how do you think those values that you're experiencing or that you're connecting with have shaped maybe shaped the coach you have become?
It shaped the coach that I became because it was all about empathy. I think that sometimes, and I'm thinking about this as you just asked it, what a powerful question. I think although it wasn't really highly regarded when I was a kid, that empathy was important, that emotional intelligence, we didn't even call it that back then.
Right.
That emotional intelligence was highly regarded. I made the decision as I got older that this could actually help me as a professional. This could actually help me in HR. And it started to help me in everything that I was choosing to do, whether it was employee relations or being a recruiter, and especially now as a coach, to your question. I lean into that, even if it wasn't really valued when I was a kid. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, all those things.
Yeah.
But I chose that, this could actually be a value for others as I am almost like their eyes and ears. I can pick up on what they're saying and what they're not saying as a coach. And so I lean into that full throttle, and it shows up every single day, every single coaching session.
You sound very aware of that now, but did you
Yes.
have that awareness before, or when did you think
No.
it came up? Let's unpack that a little bit if we can. Double click on that, as they say. Can you talk me through or help me understand, your awareness and what that journey was to get to that awareness?
Yeah, I think that the awareness certainly didn't happen as a kid. I think it came about as I was like really first starting off in HR. What happened was I was surrounded by really good mentors, people who looked like me, people who didn't look like me, people who took time with me. And they're the ones that poured into me and said, this is good. Like, this is good to be in HR and have that sixth sense, that ability to be able to understand all life's emotions, to be able to read the room, to be able to be self-aware. And I didn't realize it before being in HR because I didn't need it in radio. I didn't think I needed it in life because I had been told, like, it's all about a scientific mind. It's all about, equations and things like that. And I didn't identify with that, even though I identified with a lot of things that were in my household about, my dad being consistent and being a good man and being a good husband to my mom and being home every night and not being sneaky and all those things. Like, I picked up on those values and expected that out of partners, out of life, out of my friends, everybody. I don't think that I realized it as a kid, but it was the mentors that said, ooh, this is a good skill to have. And when they kept pouring into me, I believed them. I believed them because I trusted them, because I could tell from their nonverbals that they were telling me the truth. They weren't just telling me what I wanted to hear. And I kept hearing it. I kept hearing it from different individuals that, Kelli, this is a good competency to have. Don't let it go. Continue, like, read more, do more. and really don't ever change that. And so I felt good about that, because as a kid, I always thought, well, I guess I got to be a little bit more hard. I shouldn't be as soft as I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that they poured into me like that, because the rest is history. I mean, that, now that I'm a coach, and I'm like full into this with lots of hours of sessions and lots of different kinds of executives. And I mean, all over the board, I coach all kinds of folks. And I think if I hadn't been poured into like that, I don't think I would be as far along as a coach as I am.
Do you think there's not that awareness around a lot of those people that you're coaching from, in your corporate experience? I mean, is there this level of consciousness around the impact of values?
It has gotten better. If I were to go back to the beginnings of my career, I would say no, because what was really standing out, if you will, were not values. It was mostly, and nothing wrong with a lot of the places that I've worked, because they were amazing, amazing places. But that wasn't really valued. The value of values was not valued. I think it was more about productivity and sales and achieving certain targets and things like that. But I'm glad that over the years, we've become more aware and astute regarding inclusivity, core values, being a kind human, and less and less are people laughing, going, that's soft, that's soft. People aren't really saying that much anymore. I'm starting to hear more people say, no, these skills are essential. They're not soft. In fact, they're actually hard, because there's 50 shades of gray when it comes to values. We know that what makes up values are all kinds of things: environment, how we're raised, what we take in, what we push out, and what we hold near and dear to us. And some values are great, and some maybe are not so great. Sometimes people value their biases. We all have them. We all have them, but sometimes it's what we do with them that actually counts, and could actually marginalize folks.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, right? I mean, because I think when I say values, it's almost like, I don't know if you remember the old cartoon, The Smurfs. They used to say
Yeah,
everything Smurfy. This is Smurfy. Like Smurfy just meant everything. And
yeah.
my fear is, and what I'm trying to sort of uncover is, what is, when we talk about values, what does it mean? And you're right, there's just so much that's underneath that. And I guess I'm just trying to learn, how does that show up for folks?
Yeah,
And what
because you could really value ostracizing folks. You could value keeping people silent, or misogynoir, or misogyny, or I mean, so many things you could actually value. And so when you say values, there could be value. I mean, I instantly, as a lover of positive psychology and positive intelligence, when I hear that word, I instantly think positive. Some people, they could be valuing and embracing things that are not so great and that are not so kind to others.
Well, I had this exact sort of a discussion with somebody the other day, and I jokingly said, well, it'd be great for me to talk to Jeffrey Dahmer to understand what his values were, because there is a dark side to everybody. And I think
Dark.
there's a lot of, I think there's a dark side of this too, that people have to understand and embrace as well. I mean, I know that sounds kind of weird, but
No, there's a darkness, and there's a psychology behind a lot of what you're saying. I think I'm just grateful. I do a lot to really be cognizant of what I'm grateful for. I do a lot of reflection, a lot of mindfulness, just to keep values as, top of mind, because otherwise what I don't want to see happen is that I think that it would be impossible for me to be open to being persuaded for my values to dissipate, and perhaps take on other people's values that are not so great, that fly in the face of what I've always known. But you never know. You never know. Sometimes you can be in an environment where subconsciously you're soaking up something that's super negative. And so that's why I work really hard on having a sage mind, on positive intelligence and positive psychology, and to really be cognizant of my saboteurs.
That's really interesting. I really haven't heard it put that way, where you sort of you get bombarded with other influences.
You do. You do.
Right?
And I'll tell you an example. I remember years ago, I was working in this environment that was quite negative, and it was day in, day out, like negativity. And it was hard to have this muscle of showing up as me, as Kelly. And I found myself, even with my language, speaking differently when I was with my friends.
What do you mean?
I was valuing cursing more, just I cynical, like not even in a fun way, but like in a, oh, here she comes. Watch out, boys. She'll chew you up, kind of, like and I'm like, I didn't recognize myself. I'm like, what am I doing? And so I started to really peel back the layers of, okay, it's my environment. And what do I need to do about it? Well, I'm not going to just leave my job because of it. I'm going to consciously work on, okay, let's do the journaling again. Let's start writing poetry again. And so I started doing exercises so that regardless of the environment that I was in, I wasn't going to change being me, all these years. And then, all of a sudden change my personality. But it was soaking in. It was soaking in. The way I came across was just very down and out and not me.
Wow. Just as a sidebar, when we're not recording, I'd love to hear you swear, because I've never heard you swear. I think that'd be pretty crazy just to hear that.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I again, values. My parents raised me in an environment where you're gonna laugh. They didn't curse. My mom to this day doesn't curse. And she would say things like, when she sees somebody on TV do it, she's like, it's just not intelligent, Kelly. It's just not. I mean, what's their vocabulary? And it was just so funny because even my dad, he would say things like, when he would get mad, of course, but the words that he would choose, he would say things like, what in the Sam Hill are you doing? Or John Brown it, Kelly, and I'm like, who the heck is John Brown? Like, like just curse, just curse.
That's funny. As you were talking about that, I was thinking it's almost like you have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
In certain avenues.
Yes.
Are there's tools or techniques or tips that maybe you share with your clients or with those that you work with on how to sort of protect yourself from some of those things?
Oh gosh, I mean, so many things. I'm a big even if people are not currently reading anything, I'm very big on sharing lots of resources in terms of books. Uh like all kinds. Marshall Goldsmith, I mean, Brene Brown, Iyanla Van Zant is amazing. Lisa Nichols, oh my gosh, I could speak for an hour on her. Anybody who fits that realm of being motivational, somebody who's open-minded, somebody who has that growth mindset. There's so many resources I typically will provide, including TED Talks, everything like that, because I find that even if you can slip in one per week, a podcast once per week, every little bit helps. And I also encourage them to write, even if it's in their phone, 3 things they're grateful for in a week. I think it's doable. It doesn't have to be laborious. All it has to be is one line, and be specific. One line of what you're grateful for 3 times a week. That's it. I like to do it every single day. And even if I miss days, I'll double up the next day, or I'll even back plan. Like I'll do backwards gratefulness exercises, because I can always sit, and even when I'm struggling, even when I'm having a hard day, I can think, okay, I have clean water. I mean, it can be as simple as something like that. I have a comfortable home. I have patience. I have virtue. Even if it's things that are intrinsic, I try not to focus on the external things, car, house. I like to focus more on, I like the fact that I'm honest. I like the fact that, so I'm grateful for being raised with those virtues, those values, and that sense of kindness, and making sure that other people feel that hope when I'm coaching them, that
Yeah.
they can do anything that they want to do. They have the answers inside of them. They just need to practice that positive mindset.
Yeah, I think there's even some neuroscience behind like gratitude journaling.
Yes,
They say that, I guess it triggers something in your neural
it
cortex,
does.
and
It
that sort
does.
of inspires you to sort of, you know, I don't want to say do better because that sounds cheesy, but it just puts you in a different frame of mind, which
It
ultimately I think
does.
it's like a hack. It's like a life hack.
It's a life hack, totally. It increases your serotonin, your dopamine. I mean, there's all kinds of records and articles on that, and it reduces stress, because if you're thinking more about either giving to others, serving others, or what you're grateful for, you don't tend to focus on the things that are not going so hot. Because we know it's the law of gravity. What goes up must come down. So if you're doing well in your career, your relationship is probably going to suck. So there's always those kinds of things, but you can't get down on that because you've got so much to be grateful for.
Wow. Are there some common themes or um, uh, things that you recognize when you're coaching people when they do have values? Are there certain benefits that you feel that they're deriving?
Ooh, that's a good one. What kind of benefits are they deriving? I see the light bulb go off with them when I'm making the connection to the values.
Mm,
So a lot of times when I think about my style of coaching, it's two things. It's empathy and values. I will somehow, some way, it doesn't matter what career field they're in, it doesn't matter what level they are, CEO, it doesn't matter. At some point, I'm going to be driving in values, because I think that that's what drives us. I think that that's what motivates us, regardless of whether we think we're motivated by money or we think we're motivated by a certain address or
mm,
size of house. At the end of the day, we can't take all that stuff with us.
right.
So that's why I tend to lean into empathy as a coach, and being there right beside that person, that client. And then I also lean into values, and I see the benefit, because every time I ask a question with values, it's never failed. It doesn't matter the gender identity. It doesn't matter if they're LGBTQ plus. It doesn't matter what their identities are. That intersectionality, that common denominator with everyone, is whenever I ask a question on values, the light bulb goes off. I see the wheel turning, and they're like, huh, Kelli, I don't even talk about these things. And they almost like sit back, and that's that. And I know, I'm like, I got you, because now the work is really beginning. Now we're really moving things. We're moving the needle.
Yeah, that really, you're right, because I think people we go through it blindly every day,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think those things drive us in all of our actions. And when you
they
confront
do.
somebody or you ask somebody, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. It's like and I've said this before, it's a toothpaste coming out of the tube. You can't put it back in,
Ah, I've never heard that. I like
right?
that.
So it's very difficult. And then once, I think
Can't
once you
put back
see it,
in.
yeah, well, I think once you recognize it in yourself, and this is, I'll probably sound like a broken record on a lot of these things, but I think once you recognize the values that you have in yourself, I think maybe this leads to empathy. This could be, but I think you have a greater appreciation in seeing that in others,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Even through, and this is the other thing I'm learning. It's less about what you're saying; it's more about what you're doing, right? So, and especially I think in the workplace, people will focus more on what you're doing than what you're saying.
Spot on. Spot on. The people pay attention to the actions, and that's what creates psychological safety. That's what creates solidarity and a sense of belonging, is it's really the actions, because you could say all day, well, I don't want to get involved, I'm not a micromanager, but people are paying attention to how you're showing up if you are checking on someone as opposed to checking in with them, in terms of you're not developing them. And
Oh,
you're
wait a minute. You just had a bumper sticker moment. You just said some of the, say that again, checking on.
When you're having the one-to-ones with folks, say for example, you've got a team of people, and instead of checking in on them, you're checking on them.
I'm jotting this down because I'm going to make a bumper sticker. We're going to put on t-shirts, and then we're going to hit the lottery.
So now all you're doing is just, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? So no matter how many times you say as a leader, I'm not a micromanager, if you're checking on your people and asking, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? That's micromanaging. And they're paying attention to that. They're like, they're not going to believe what you're saying. They believe what you're doing. They expect you to check in on them. How's your family? What's going on? I see that you're showing up differently. I see that you just, there's something off. I can't put my finger on it. Yeah, actually, I'm going through some medical things. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. Take your time. Do you need time off? Like, that's checking in on someone. Noticing the nuances of how something is different. Something might be a little off. They might be absent a lot. Whatever the case may be, that's what they need. And checking in to see how they're developing. Do you have everything you need? Do you have the tools that you need? As opposed to, did you do it?
Do we not check in enough on people?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think as coaches, we naturally do. I think that as we start a session, that's a natural thing that we as coaches do, because we are genuinely interested on how they're doing. And it's typically how we kick off a session. But I think sometimes leaders, I don't want to put everybody in one bucket. I think sometimes they're not checking in enough. They're not having career conversations. They're not asking, what are you inspired by? They're not leaning into their coaching abilities, because it's not difficult to really dig in and ask those probing questions, just to show up and show that you care. Those are the things that matter. And I don't think we're doing it enough, at least not in the corporate landscape.
Is there something that we can suggest to folks to maybe do that more? Or what would be something that would encourage people to check in on more people, not on them?
I think what would encourage them is to understand what happens when you don't do it. The what's in it for me, the WIIFM, I always say my favorite radio station. The WIIFM, what's in it for me? I think that if they understood what they would be missing out on if they don't do it, then they would do it more, if that makes sense. I think that it can't just be, well, your engagement level is going to be off on the next survey, or, well, you're going to have more turnover. You may have more issues with absenteeism and workplace hostility, and even perhaps even safety incidents and things like that. We know that workers' comp goes up when there's a lack of, checking in and just absent, like an absence of understanding where everybody is in terms of their engagement. So I think that that's the point of it all, is understanding what would I be missing if I don't do this? What's going to end up happening down the line? Understand cause and effect. It may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow, but the future of work, people expect flexibility, psychological safety, mental health awareness. They expect to be included and have a sense of belonging. So if you're not doing that, and there's no way to create a sense of belonging if you're not checking in, that's like management 101. If you're not checking in, you are not creating a sense of belonging.
I think we found the theme of our discussion today.
Yes.
I think that's it.
Well, and it's the values. It's the values of it all, because what they care about mostly should be making sure that regardless of everybody and their individual needs, that as a whole, you're valuing them as whole people, not just the part that's producing, but all of it,
Right.
the entirety of that person and that group. If it's not about that whole group and the whole entirety of them as whole people, then it really doesn't matter what you're doing. It just doesn't. It's not, you might get temporary great sales or great results or hitting your KPIs, but it's not going to last. It will not last for long.
Yeah, it's like a catabolic energy. It's, may increase in short term, but long term, it just degrades. It doesn't really sort of produce any positive. And the interesting thing is as we're talking about our flags, I almost feel like leaders, like really good leaders, that's where they get that stuff, and it seems like that really permeates their leadership style. Yes, it's about the numbers and the metrics and all that kind of stuff, and they have a fine handle on that. But what separates them, from what I've seen, good leaders from amazing leaders, is that incremental piece, which I think, when we're talking about your philosophy, it's empathy and values. We're going right back to that.
Yes. And what I find funny, Tom, is I was just thinking about the fact that another thing that has evolved is, and I haven't done recruiting in a while because for the last few years I focused only on DE&I. But back when I was recruiting all the time, I would see folks on college campuses. I would be hiring executives, you name it. And over the years, they've become more astute in asking, candidates are asking things like, so what are your values, Kelli, and how does that relate to this company's values?
Really?
And that's the face that I make whenever somebody asks me something like that, because I'm like, whoa.
I'm getting, like, you can't see this because we're doing audio, but I'm getting goosebumps.
I'm like, that's good. That's good. Because you're proud when you just almost sit up straighter when somebody asks a question like that. I'm like, wow, that is the kind of person I want to hire. The kind of person, because you can hire for attitude and you train for skills.
Yes.
The person that's asking questions around values, what's keeping you here in terms of you've been working here 7 years, that must mean that you value something. What are those values, Kelli? You're asking me that? Wow. Okay, let me tell you. And then of course I'm an open book. I'm going to share with them why I'm still there, what motivates me, why those values that the company holds ring true with me. People will ask things like, how is recognition, how is creativity recognized? And that could be a value. Like any kind of action, like you said earlier, it's all in the action. If there is no recognition, then there is no value for creativity.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, to your point, if there is no action, whether it's compensation, consistent merit increases, all kinds of thoughtful things, even intrinsic things that a company will do to create a sense of belonging, to create the fact that our values are on fire. They're really, really strong. They're alive. Those are the things that really matter, not just some website with values list. Like that's just, that's like what they call values theater or diversity theater. It's like, it's just theater unless you're actually doing things. So sometimes candidates will come in and because like I said, I haven't interviewed in years, but when I did, I'm like, if they were doing it back then, I'm sure it's like 10 times more now.
Wow. Yeah. That's cool. That's amazing that somebody comes in with that attitude and those questions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's,
they're coming in asking about ESG.
Really?
Like, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They want to know the environmental scan. They want to know, how does your company value the carbon footprint, and where could I find that information? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, this is good. This is good. So
Absolutely.
I'm impressed whenever I would see something like that, because that shows that person cares about values.
Well, not only that, but it sounds like that generation coming in
Yes.
is making this shift,
Yes.
which is even more powerful. So just
Yep.
imagine what I know there's a lot of talk about the workplace and shifts in terms of how we work and what we do, but if we're starting to see that turn, that I think is probably the most important and critical element going in. And just imagine what the workforce is going to look like in 10 years, in 20 years.
Oh yeah. I mean, with Generation Alpha, I think wouldn't it be
Generation
showing
Alpha, is that a new term, or did I just miss that one?
it is
Generation
a new generation for those under 13 and under.
Generation Alpha?
Yeah, yeah. It's a real thing. There's books written on it and everything.
I have to
They're
write this down.
they're
Alpha.
calling it the Silent Generation Part 2.
Silent Gen Part 2.
Yes.
And those are people under 13 now?
Yes. Yes. Generation.
Wow. Do you think they're getting more aware, or they're being sort of
Oh
introduced?
yes. Oh yes. I mean, very, from everything I've read so far, very different than Gen Z. Because obviously of what they've been exposed to. I mean, they're used to school drills on
Absolutely.
not just fire safety like when we were kids, but active shooter drills like every month. Like that does something to someone
Yeah.
who's 10,
Yeah.
to do that every month. Like they are used to, they've never known a world where they were 1 years old on iPads. I mean, it's a very different generation, and very emotional. That's why they're calling it Silent Generation Part 2. So much bullying, so much with the gaming. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they're calling it the Silent Generation Part 2. So I think that the main thing we need to be concerned about is really their mental health, as they start to get older and such. But imagine if someone comes in for an interview and says, because this has happened to me several times, not just once, twice, three times a lady. It's happened many, many, many times. I had people ask, gosh, what was that question? They said, in different ways. So your company says a lot about DE&I. However, I've looked at your board makeup and I see a lot of opportunity. So can you tell me more about those values?
Wow.
And imagine how that has shifted when years and years ago, it was, we're a big company. You want to work for us. The money's right. The bonus is right. It's a big name on your CV, all that. To, no, you have to convince me that I should work there because I need to know your values are actually being lived. Whether it's ESG, whatever it is.
That's powerful.
Powerful.
Now, I'm going to be a provocateur in this follow up on that. But do you see this as, because a lot of times people say, "Oh, it's a trend. ESG is a trend. This is a trend. That is a trend." Are we experiencing a trend, or is this real? Are we holding on
I
to
think
this?
it's real. I think it's absolutely real, because when I think about the future of how we're going to evolve as humans, I don't think it's a trend. I know years ago people would say that about DEI or ESG or everything with regards to how we should be embracing diversity of thought, even, or different diversity when it comes to communication styles. Oh, this is a trend. I don't think so. I think that if we as humans don't pay more attention, and it's not just company driven or corporate driven, I think just in life all around the world, doesn't matter what country, if we don't pay attention to the assets that everybody is bringing and value those assets, we're going to be stuck behind the times. We will
Wow.
not evolve as a global unity, because the demographics are changing, everything is changing. We know that the science doesn't lie. Like, there's so many things that fly in the face of it being a trend.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe this is the next phase, right? We had an industrial revolution. We had a tech
Yeah.
revolution. Maybe this is, I don't even know what you would call it. Values revolution, or, who we are
Ooh, that's
revolution.
good.
I don't know. Yeah. Something to think about.
Values revolution.
Could be something to think
Ooh,
about. So let me ask you, who is a hero of yours when you were growing up or even now?
I have so many heroes. I could speak for 5 hours on heroes.
Give us a
Um,
couple.
I would say I'm obsessed with people like Oprah, people like Iyanla Van Sant, people like um even like as a coach, Marshall Goldsmith, everything that he's written, I've like embraced. Jack Canfield, very big in terms of that. Read many books by Jack, and Lisa Nichols, and I mean, and that's not even, that's just when it comes to how they speak, how they write their books and things like that. And that's not even getting started on music. Like that's another thing. Like I'm inspired by people like Stevie Wonder, like please, like I can speak all day about him. I'm also inspired, it's funny, I'm inspired by people who a lot of times had a very rough beginning and turned it around into being something just unimaginable, unrecognizable.
What
And
about that?
that's the common denominator when I look at like people like Billie Holiday, or like every single time I really am obsessed with somebody's Bessie Smith. I mean, so many people like that
What do you think
where
what do you think drives that inspiration or that obsession?
my mother, and somewhat my father, because my mother was orphaned by the time she was, I think she was either 12 or 13.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, her mom passed away from leukemia when she was 10. And then her father died, we say, of a broken heart 13 months later.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, so she was raised by her grandparents. And when I look at, you know, her working since she was 13, 14 years old, put herself through college, was the first one in her family to go to college. Like, I think that that's when I make that association of why do I like all these people who similarly had a really rough beginning, but still like really succeeded in life. I think it's my mom. I think my mom is that common thread as to why these other folks, these famous folks, Oprah, same thing. If you have read her backstory or seen any of her documentaries,
Love Oprah. Love Oprah.
Viola Davis, really, really tough upbringing. Yeah, I mean, it's just like that common thing every single time with me, and I think it goes back to my mom, and like, wow, how did she was like, I didn't know any other way. I just knew I wanted to go to college, and I just had to just have good grades, and I saved money. I didn't get to do things that other kids got to do. I didn't join any clubs or do anything because I couldn't. We didn't have any money, but
Yeah.
we had money for the things that mattered. We had, roast chicken every Sunday. We went to church. We always had nice dresses to go to Sunday school and stuff like that. We had what we needed, but we didn't have anything extra because it was 5 kids in that house,
Wow.
or 6. I think it was 6 kids in the house. Her 2 cousins and her and her 3 siblings. So 6 kids raised by a grandmother and a grandfather.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
I've
So
never made that connection. I've never said that out loud. I've never just even talking, I'm like, I think it's my mom, because I can't imagine why am I like, why do I always love people who had like the roughest upbringing, and then in many different ways, whether it was monetary or environment or whatever. What is that? It's my mom, I think.
wow. Then well, I'm very glad you're able to find that connection.
You're welcome. I feel like I'm in a coaching session. This is great.
Well,
This is
it's I think
good.
I think it's the Scorpio in us that brings
That's
that out.
right. Scorpios unite.
Yeah. Um, we'll wrap up pretty soon here in a sec, but
Okay.
what would be a takeaway or something key that you think you would like people to walk away with after maybe listening to this conversation, or even if they were to have a separate conversation with you? What's your one key takeaway?
My one key takeaway is don't apologize for being you. Don't apologize for being you. And I think that's the common takeaway, the bottom line of it all. Because I think many times in life, we spend a lot of years apologizing for being different. And I don't mean physically, just physically. Sometimes it's physically, sometimes it's I'm apologize. Oh, I'm overweight, or I hear people apologize for their age. Oh, and I'm like, why are you apologizing? Own it,
Yeah.
own it. I, I'm older now than when my dad passed away. Like I embrace the fact that I'm still here. So I will not apologize for my age. I'm proud of my age. I'm proud that I don't look my age. So yeah, so don't apologize. That's my thing. I just thought about that. Don't apologize for who you are to your core values, the things that make you a good human being. And don't cower to others trying to change you from those core values.
Wow, cool. Thank you for that. I want to thank you for taking some time with me today. I value your conversation, your insights. Every single time we talk, I always feel inspired when I walk away. And
Uh,
I think not only do I get that when I talk, but everybody can get that from you if they listen to your podcast, right? All they have to do is check out Career Combat wherever you pick up your favorite podcast. They can get the same experience. And actually, I'm getting through the episode now with our friend Patricia Taylor.
yes.
That is a she does not she absolutely she is a great guest.
Yes,
So I'm getting through
indeed.
that one. But if what's another way or any way if people want to get in touch or contact you or get some insight or guidance or just follow up discussions, is there a way that people can reach out?
Yes. So I'm mainly on LinkedIn, Kelly with an I, Combat with a K, like Mortal Kombat. You can also reach out at yes, at kellycoach.com. So yes at KELLICOACH.com.
Well, we will put all that information in the show notes. So people, if they're interested, and I suggest you do, first check out her podcast because there's so many tips and acronyms and
Oh, Acronym
excellent
Central.
tools that are incredibly helpful. So definitely check that out. Kelly, thank you very much.
You're so welcome, Thomas. Thank you for having me.
I'll talk to you soon.